Hello and a very warm welcome to this edition of FS Mania. There's a full moon setting on this early morning in Cold Bay, Alaska as we prepare for a flight in the Beechcraft King Air B200 by Flight1. Our flight today will be a 543 nautical mile trip northeast to Anchorage, Alaska. Located in south central Alaska, Anchorage is Alaska's most populous city, and with over 300,000 residents contains more than 40% of the state's total population. The city, which started as a railroad construction port in 1914, experienced massive growth as air transportation and the military became increasingly important to Alaska between the 1930s and 1950s. In 1968, oil was discovered in Prudhoe Bay on the Alaska North Slope, and the resulting oil boom spurred further growth in Anchorage. The Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport, identifier Papa Alpha November Charlie, is one of the world's busiest airports for cargo traffic, surpassed only by Memphis, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Seoul. This traffic is strongly linked to Anchorage's location along Great Circle routes between Asia and the lower 48 United States. Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport covers an area of 4,608 acres at an elevation of 151 feet above mean sea level. It has 3 runways and 1 helipad. The airport is named in honor of Ted Stevens, a U.S. Senator from Alaska who served from 1968 to 2009. Next to Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport is Lake Hood Seaplane Base, which is one of the largest seaplane bases in the world. The Beechcraft King Air line is comprised of model series that fall into 4 families: the Model 90 series, the Model 100 series, Model 200 series, and Model 300 series. The latter 2 models were originally marketed as the Super King Air family, but the Super was dropped in 1996. The Super King Air 200 family has been in continuous production since 1974, which is the longest production run of any civilian turboprop aircraft in its class. More than 2,000 King Air 200s have been delivered, making it the most popular turbine-powered business airplane of all time. In 1981, an improved version of the Model 200 series entered production. This Model B200, which featured the new T-tail, is the model Flight1 chose for their version. Within the King Air family, the tall-tail B200 is generally considered as the best of the best. The original B200 was fitted with Pratt & Whitney PT6A-42 engines rated at 850 shaft horsepower. Let me just say, this ain't your daddy's King Air. This Flight1 model of the King Air started as a typical 1984 B200 with high-time engines and outdated avionics, making it the perfect candidate for a series of aftermarket modifications and upgrades. For starters, our King Air received the Raisebeck Epic Gold treatment from Raisebeck Engineering out of Seattle, Washington. This package includes enhanced performance leading edges, wing lockers with lifting hatch doors on the aft part of the engine nacelles, a ram air recovery system, quiet turbofan 4-blade composite propellers, high flotation gear doors, and dual aft body strakes. Next, we have a new Blr Winglet System, which adds an aluminum wingtip, carbon fiber winglet, and integrated position, recognition, and strobe lights. These BLRs increase the overall wingspan by 3 feet 5 inches, providing a valuable reduction in drag, an increase in lift, better slow flight handling, and they look pretty dang cool. Blackhawk Modifications out of Waco, Texas has installed a new pair of Pratt & Whitney PT6-52s. These engines were created by Pratt & Whitney by combining the -42's gearbox section with a -60 gas generator section. The resulting -52 engine is still limited or flat rated to 850 shaft horsepower at the propeller, but the engine has the thermodynamic ability to produce well over 1,000 shaft horsepower, which comes in handy at high altitudes. With the new engines and aerodynamic modifications, our upgraded King Air's cruise speed increases from 285 knots to 310 knots. On the inside, we have a brand new, richly appointed interior configured for 8 passengers and a crew of 2. In the cockpit, we find that the 1980s panel has been gutted and replaced with a fully integrated Garmin G1000 King Air specific avionics package. This retrofit features Garmin's signature 15-inch multifunction display, MFD, and two 10-inch primary flight displays, PFDs. A digital dual-channel automatic flight control system, AFCS, GPS, wide area augmentation system, or WAS, mapping, obstacle database, traffic monitoring, and Garmin's Safe Taxi. Should you want to fly above 28,000 feet, the G1000 is RVSM capable. The Flight1 Garmin database can be updated using Navigraph FMS data. Our 3-axis autopilot equipped King Air is certified for single pilot operations. And finally, to cap off our upgrades, we have a brand new tip-to-tail exterior paint job. This King Air is 43 feet 9 inches long, has a wingspan of 54 feet 6 inches, a height of 15 feet, a maximum takeoff weight of 12,500 pounds, and a service ceiling of 35,000 feet. So, if you like what you see, all this can be yours for somewhere in the neighborhood of, wait for it, $3 million US. Now, if you prefer to spring for a brand new King Air 200 GT, or a 250, or even a big new 350i, you will need to fork out between 5 to 8 million smackaroos. So, I'm thinking we'll stick with our King Air Blackhawk Super XP-52. And with that said, climb aboard, buckle up, and let's go flying. Good morning and welcome aboard. This is the FS Mania flight from Cold Bay, Alaska to Anchorage, Alaska non-stop in the Flight1 King Air B200 Blackhawk version. Super airplane, ultimate King Air, and we are cold and dark. Literally, it's dark and we're in Cold Bay, so definitely cold and dark. And we're just going to start out. I know it's a little dark in here. We'll get some lights on. Just bear with me for one moment. We're just going to do a quick flow and be sure all of our this is our fuel control over here. All of our pumps are in the off position. Standby pumps, auto auxiliary transfer override is in the auto position, and our circuit breakers down here in our fuel firewall valves are closed with the guards being in the open position. Over here we have our prop levers full forward. Our power levers we'll put here in the idle position, and let's bring this condition lever back down to idle cutoff. And let's look in here on some switches and be sure the auto ignition is off, batteries and generators are off, the starters are off, and anti-ice, these are the ice vanes for the turbines, the PT6s, and they are off. Auto feather is in the off position, and the governor test is in the off position. All of our lights right here are off, and anti-icing, which there's quite a bit. The King Air is said to be a go anywhere, go anytime airplane. Lots of anti-icing. I think we have like 11 switches altogether, and so landing gear is down, and here is our pressurization and our flap indicator, and up here we have of course our primary flight display, audio panel over here to the left, standby instrumentation, and our auto flight control system up here, panel, MFD multifunction display here in the center. And let's go over here and just look at our environmental controls, and we'll go ahead and cut on our no smoking and fasten seatbelt sign for the passengers, and we'll also bring the cabin light on so that they can get settled in there. And the environmental control is off, and bleeds are off, electric heat's off, the blower, aft blower is off, stall warning test down here, I know it's hard to read, it's off, and coffee pot's off. And over here we've got indicating a full charge on our oxygen system, and there's a few, let's get back here, we can see them, circuit breakers over here. Also our alternate static air source is set to normal, and that's what we want there, and I'll speak just a moment about that. But while I'm doing it, I want to close, or open I should say, this oxygen valve up here for the passengers. We don't want them getting hypoxia on us if something happens. And what I was going to say about that static port is the static port on this airplane is there's two separate systems, one for the pilot, one for the co-pilot. The static port's typically a very small hole. It's I guess maybe 32nd or something. It's just really small hole, usually located on the aft part of the fuselage. And the walk around, we look in there and make sure there's nothing clogging it up. And being such a small hole, it could get clogged up by an insect or ice or something else. And so if it does, that's why we have alternate static source. And this is located back in the aft of the pressure bulkhead in the King Air, but in a non-pressurized airplane, it's somewhere up in here. And in some airplanes, you break the glass on the vertical speed indicator, but it provides the source of pressure for the altimeter and for the vertical speed indicator, for the air data computers on here. So it's important. And just a little tidbit on the static port. So moving right along, we've got everything set here. Flaps are up, and this is our pressurization controls. Everything is off down here, and so it looks like we're ready to start. And I'm just going to slip over here so that we can see what we've got going. Standby pumps, I'm going to cut them on and we'll just listen. And there is audible sound. We'll go ahead and cut on our battery switch right here. Kill these caution lights, and I'm indicating low fuel pressure for the left and right systems. I want to go ahead and open up these firewall shutoff valves, and that extinguish those warning systems. And when we shut off the standby pump, those lights come back on as they should. And then let's do a cross feed check, and the lights go off on the right, center, lights back on, left, lights back off. So cross feed's working. Auxiliary transfers in auto position over here. We've got lights for the no transfer warning, and fuel, where we've got 1,300 pounds in each tank. That's about 900 and I'm sorry, it's not 900, it's 195 gallons, so 390 gallons on board. And auxiliary tanks, which are out on the wings, the tip of the wings, they're in the tip of the wings, I should say, 0. So, but we've got 2,600 pounds. In flight planning, fuel in this aircraft, we do, let's see, we have fixed reserves of 300 pounds. We have 420 pounds for holding. We have 90 pounds for taxi, and we flight plan for every hour above 14,000 feet, 800 pounds. So it's about a 2-hour flight to Anchorage. So all that totals up to about 2,400 pounds, and with a little bit of contingency in there, about 10%, that comes right around 2,600 pounds. So we should be good to go to Anchorage with 2,600 pounds. That's about $2,000 worth of fuel in this bad boy. So we'll land with about 1,000 pounds roughly. Okay, so we've checked our pumps. We want to check our DC volts up here, and we're indicating 24 and 24. So we've got a limited amount of battery supply in this airplane, and we're going to try to get our engine started up pretty quick. Just a couple of quick checks though over here. Our stall warning test, which sounds like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, first movement. That's impending doom. And our fire detection system, we'll check that. And I'm indicating on the right engine that we have a fire. We've got caution lights. And then on the left engine, we'll check that one, and also indicating that we have a fire. So we'll call that test good there. And the annunciator lights up here, we can test and be sure everything's working. It is. And I want to look in on the database here on the MFD controller. And because the way this is set up with the controller actually down here, it's a little hard in the virtual cockpit at any rate to operate that. So I just go ahead and bring Shift 4 and bring up the pop-up controller here. And I want to go over to the auxiliary page and then use the inside wheel down here. We'll scroll over to the last page and look at the database, and it expires August 19th, 2015. So we're 1st of August. We're good there. So let's go back to that page, and then we'll go back to our map page. And I think I'm going to go ahead and scroll in while I'm here. That's out. We'll go in, and so we have sort of a safe taxi view of the airport. Here's runway 33 we're going to depart from. We'll come out here on Charlie, back taxi short distance, and do a run up down here, and then we'll head to the VOR from that direction right there. So let's close that pop-up and go to the next item on our list, which is rotating beacons coming on. Beacons right here in preparation for start. Now we're going to clear the area. We've got a little window here I can open up. Clear prop, or I should say clear props. It's 4 a.m. here, a little after 4 in Cold Bay, not too much activity. So I'm going to get myself positioned where I can, actually I think this view right here where I can see my starters, and really it's probably best just to hide the yoke for this, I have found. So a little bit of a complex starting procedure. I'll just try to go through it step by step. Right engine, we're going to bring the starter on. We're going to watch for an ignition light to come on here so we know we've got ignition. We're going to watch this fuel pressure come out. When N1 gets above 12%, we can add fuel, and then we'll monitor oil pressure, ITT, and N1. And then when it gets above 50%, we can cut our starter off, generator on. So that'll get us going there. So right engine, there's our ignition light. Fuel pressure light just went out. N1's already above 12%. It's okay if it goes higher. In fact, it's good if it goes a little higher. There's our fuel. Monitoring oil pressure, lights out. ITT, we didn't want it to go over 1,000. It didn't. N1's up now at 58%. So we come off with the starter and generator. We'll hit reset, bring it on, and we'll get a warning light for about 6 seconds that it's charging. And that's a good start. And what we want to do is take a look and be sure we're getting some charging. We are 28 volts, and once it's below 50% here load, that's what we're looking for. We've got our batteries charged up enough to begin a start over here on the other engine. What we're going to do on this is a generator assisted start. That's what we're going to call this. So we're going to cut this right generator off, kill the caution light, and we're going to bring this this condition lever. Some people say lever, some say lever, potato, up into the high idle. And we're going to come in and hit our starter. There's our, we can't see the ignition light. We'll watch the fuel pressure and looking for N1. There it is, up above 12. We'll bring that on, and as soon as that comes on, we're going to bring this generator back online to assist in the start, looking for above 50%. We have it, and so we'll cut off the starter, and now we can cut on the right generator, reset down, and it's on, and we have 2 good starts, and we can bring this lever back down into low idle. So pretty much how you start it. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you do, you kind of figure out that's what you got. Okay, so indicating bleed air is off, and that's what we want there. And then pretty quick after we get these started, I like to go ahead and extend my anti-ice vanes so that we don't suck up any debris here blowing around in Cold Bay. There is a lot of wind that blows things around, and we don't want to get any of it in our turbine, so ice vanes are open. And we'll unhide that prop and look at our voltage here. Everything looks good there. 28 volts, 28 volts. And let's get some lights on. So we'll bring on these lights here. Lights. Get everything lit up nice for us. There we go. We're going to bring that dome light on later on when it lights up in here. I'll show you why. And we'll also go ahead and get our cabin temperature over here on auto for the passengers. And let's get back in here and let's dial in the ASOS here, and it is 13575. Tune that in. Just check on the altimeter setting.
Weather observation 1419er Zulu. Wind 338 at 9er. Visibility greater than 20
Uncage
miles.
that.
Sky condition ceiling 1,300 overcast. Temperature 1 Celsius. Dew point 10 Celsius. Altimeter 3025. Papa Alpha Charlie Delta automated weather observation 1419er Zulu. Wind.
Okay, back on the common traffic frequency, indicating 100, 100, and 100, 3025. I did hear him say that the temperature was 10 degrees Celsius and the dew point was 11 degrees Celsius. Anytime you have temperature and dew point that close together, there's a good chance for fog, so we'll have to keep that out. And I said fog, not FOD, fog. And just quick check the weather. Right now winds are out of the north, so we're going to be taking off runway 33, and we've got better than 20 miles of visibility, about a 1,300 foot overcast here in Cold Bay. There is a full moon. Yep, we can see it up there peeping through. And the temperature we said was 11 degrees Celsius. En route, we're going to have winds from the northeast, about 20 to 30 knots, so a bit of a headwind, not too bad. Some isolated thunderstorms en route. And Anchorage is forecasting winds light and variable visibility is greater than 10, scattered clouds around 11,000, and the temperature a balmy 15 degrees Celsius. So, good day to fly to Anchorage. Okay. We have received our clearance by telephone from flight service, so we're going to go ahead and put in our flight plan now. So what we'll do, I'll bring up the multifunction controller, shift 4, and let's go to the flight plan and get a cursor here. There's the waypoint box and the identifier, and we'll put in the departure airport, which is Papa Alpha Charlie Delta, Cold Bay, and we enter that. And then our first waypoint's the Cold Bay VOR, and that is, let's get the box back up, Charlie Bravo Delta. And that doesn't look right, so let's go backspace. Here we go. It's Charlie Delta Bravo. There it is. Okay, and we'll enter that, and there are 2 of them. We'll confirm Alaska is where we are. We see the magenta lines drawn. And then there we're going to be intercepting jet route 115, and the next waypoint along that route is King Salmon, and that designator is Alpha Kilo November. I'm going from memory on this. I think that's right. Yep, that is right. And then after that, jet route 115 goes to the Kenai VOR. And that one is Echo November Alpha Kenai. And then our destination is Papa Alpha November Charlie, Anchorage. Ted Stevens, that's what we want there. And that gets us our flight plan in there. Everything looks good. So we'll go ahead and close that. And while we're in here, I want to go ahead and tune for departure. We're going to tune in the ILS for, so let me do this. We're going to tune in the ILS in case we have a problem we need to come back. I want to come over here to the waypoint page. Here's airports. Let's bring up or put in Cold Bay. So Papa Alpha, Charlie, Delta, there's Cold Bay, we'll enter that. So there it is, the ILS right there, 110.3. So I'm gonna put that in here. And we'll show you can, on some of these, at least the comm frequencies, you can enter them in. I don't think this one will. No, it's not. So we'll come over here and just put it in. That's not a problem. 110.3. Put it up here at nav 1. There it is right there. Oops. 110.3. And let's flip it over. There we go. We got the identifier. Okay. So that looks good. Let's close that box there and move on down. Getting pretty close to being ready to taxi. I did need to just go ahead and set up my transponder code 0316, and the G1000 automatically sets it into the ground mode. It knows we're on the ground. And let's just check our instruments. We've checked our altimeters, our headings, 236 over here, 236 over there. They cross-check, put our CDI on the GPS, and we've looked at these. I cut on the backlight right there, uncaged the standby altimeter, standby attitude indicator, and let's go ahead and set in our altitude. Initial altitude assigned. Down here is the lower, the hundreds, and up here is the thousands. Initial altitude is 1000. So we'll set that in there. A common mistake that I make with this when I'm scrolling with these click spots, above here there's the thousands, down here, and I just use the scroll wheel on my mouse. Down here is the hundreds. Sometimes I'll accidentally hit one of these, or over here with the heading, I may hit, one time I hit the back horse, you know, and cause the problem with the approach. So really have to pay attention on that. It's been my experience. And let's go ahead and we'll set, speaking of heading, we'll set in the runway heading is 33, let me double check that. It is 327. So we'll set that in for the departure. There we go, 327. And with that, we can get on our recognition lights here and our taxi lights. See those come on. Make sure they're working. Yep. And we're ready to taxi out. Sure everything's clear. Release the brake down here. And it takes about a good 400 foot-pounds right here, and then we can keep an eye on our ground speed right there. So about 400 foot-pounds to get us moving, get the props up out of beta, and then once we start moving, then we can ease them back. Just kind of use the beta range to keep our speed under control, keep us from having to ride the brakes, hopefully wearing them out. They're very expensive.